I married a man, I did my part. 31 years I've been married to the same man. Don't clap, you don't know him. I could be an idiot for all you know. For the first time in 31 years, he sleeps better than he's ever slept in his life. He will suck the walls through his nostrils. Which is my dream as a young child. Just when I grow up and marry a rootin' pig someday. Sometimes it sounds like he's trying to talk to me. And like an idiot, did you say something, dear? What? In case he starts talking to me, I don't want to miss it. Well, one night he had the nerve to ask me, where's that little thing I got you at Victoria's Secrets? I said, it's up your left nostril. And then you wonder why we wear flannel to bed. It's the heaviest fabric we can get on our hands to keep out of the wind tunnel.
Good morning. Doug from your family-friendly morning show with some sad news to report. Our dear friend, Christian comedian Chonda Pierce's husband of 31 years, David Pierce, died following emergency brain surgery on Tuesday night. David was an author of many books, the most popular, Don't Let Me Go, about a mountain climbing expedition that he took with his daughter. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Chonda and to their two children, Shara and Zach. Chonda has been posting regular updates on her Facebook page, and Tuesday night, her post simply read, David is home.
Death puts a lot of things in perspective. The recognition that you can't do anything over. You know, you can't change anything, or you can never say another word to that human being again. That'll change you.
Well, to echo what happened years and years ago, before I asked her to marry me, I took her down to a little bridge over a creek, and I think she thought I was going to ask her to marry me.
I did.
And so I said, I have a question. Would you go steady with me? And I thought she was going to slap me.
I wanted a proposal.
So I think at this point, I'd like to go steady again, to date, to do those fun things we used to do, to have the conversations that we used to have before we got so distracted. So I have a question for you. Would you go steady with me?
Well, was it 30 years ago? I said, what? This time I go, yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know where I stood. One of my favorite comedians, Lucille Ball, said, I'm not funny. What I am is brave. I stand in front of thousands of women each night and open up my life to them. I share about my pain, my depression, the struggles in my own life, with a few jokes thrown in here and there. We laugh together, we cry together, we're telling each other's stories, we're sharing the same life. I don't know if that makes me brave, but I do know it makes me blessed. Blessed to be part of a sisterhood, a movement, a congregation. I'm Chonda Pierce, and this is the bravest thing I've ever done.
3 words. Chonda is
Hungry. Chonda is surviving. Chonda is, Lord, complex. The word I dream, Chonda is skinny. That'll be the day. Oh. I'm just telling you, as a Christian, I feel like we need to witness and warn women of what they have coming down the road. And you young girls need to know what you have ahead of you. It's time people told you the truth at these Christian concerts. Enjoy your flat stomach while you can. You're gonna swell up like a dead fish one of these days. That boy you think you can't live without, you'll slap him for just walking by. You will slap the shine off that head in a minute.
Here he has arrived. Zachary David Pierce.
Don't say something.
I'm so excited. Yes. Let me see. Finally. Oh, David.
Goodness.
We had this wedding at our church. It was precious not long ago, and this sweet little lady got married, Mary Ann. Sister Mary Ann was 91 years old. She married a fella in our church who is 95. I could not help but ask her when she came back to prayer meeting one night, "Did you have a nice honeymoon?" She said, "Yes, Lord, I had to slap him 5 times." I said, "Oh, did he get fresh with you?" She said, "Oh, no, I thought he was dead."
My mother said that about everything. Don't wear that shirt, it leads to beer. Don't kiss that boy, it leads to beer. Everything. She was terrified that everything was going to lead to beer. Like beer was the worst thing in the whole world that could possibly happen to you. Don't do that. Don't brush your hair like that. That leads to beer. I moved slightly to the music. I didn't dance because that will send you straight to hell in a handbasket. So my mama said, "I heard it all my life. You're going to hell in a handbasket. Do that again, you're going to hell in a handbasket." I was about 14 when I asked her, "Well, how big's a handbasket?" Because me and 4 cousins are going to hell in the same handbasket. And who's carrying the handbasket to hell? That's what I want to know. I don't know how to fake my life. There is something really sacred to me about a spotlight.
And I met her, and she's as real as they can be. Real true Christian.
She's real on stage as she is off stage.
She's as real as she'll ever be.
People are always like, "I don't know how you can talk about things that are so authentic. I just think that's so good." And I'm like, I'm not trying to be authentic. I'm lonely. I gotta tell somebody my troubles. I'm sick of this. My mother came in my bedroom. I was 23 the night before I got married. She came in and said, "Well, tomorrow's your big day. I guess it's time we had that little talk." And she'd always spell it SCX. First 3 years of my marriage, I thought that had something to do with it. You go home tonight, when your husband walks by, go, "Honey." Somehow they know. She laid a brochure on the nightstand and left the room as fast as she could. The whole brochure was how to make a roast on Sunday. Because you don't cook on the Lord's Day. You have to cook the roast the night before, when to put the potatoes and carrot, what temperature to cook things in. Men work hard all week. They deserve a roast at least once a week. I'm thinking, this is a sick metaphor. That's what this is. Oh, yeah, it's funny to you. I had the salt and pepper in my suitcase during my honeymoon. Did you ever try to wrap yourself up in some tin foil? It's not very sexy. Of course, it got better reception on the TV. We had a cheap hotel.
What about her touches you?
Her love and her big heart. She has her love for Jesus and not being ashamed. Her love for people.
It still does blow my mind, though, that there are women getting off work right now, rushing to get supper. They paid hard money that took them hours to earn to come out here and meet me and have a comedy show. That blows my mind.
We love you, Chonda! We love you.
Yes, we do.
We love you. We're praying for you tonight.
I feel like I have somebody to talk to. I really do. Those aren't relationships. These are really kind people. How nice of them to come. A lot of people bought a ticket. It's sold out. You know, so they accepted my invitation. And so now we're going to have a party. That's exciting.
You will laugh, you will cry, and we're your depends.
I've seen Sandra before. She's good.
Yeah!
You told my story out there. You know, I lived my life.
Kai thinks she's funny.
You made me cry when you talked about your mother.
I like my job. I love what I do. I know my market. I know to whom I serve. I know. I think I can please my audience, and I love them. I hope it was fun. It was fun. I needed it. Thanks for listening. Come in here, sweetness, and stop your crying. I know. Oh, I'm just so glad you were here. I watched those ladies pouring into these theaters and these churches and these civic centers, and they're excited, and a moment of reprieve is coming in all of our lives, and I love that. Next. We're gonna be here all night. You are, we're not. Y'all look so nice. Where are y'all going after this? You gonna go in? Get in here, cuteness. I think it would be really great to just make the body of Christ laugh, pee in their pants, and let's go home. I tried to get an endorsement from Depends. Would that be so stinking hilarious? If you do a whole comedy tour sponsored by Depends undergarment. That's like, this show must be funny. You're going, wet your pants? It's sponsored by Depends. I really did start out wanting to tell a story. I wanted to tell what had happened in my life. And I thought that the backdrop of comedy was so surprising that when they heard the story, they would go, this is the same girl we just got finished laughing with.
Is this the first time you've ever seen Chonda?
Yes, but I'm a Chonda stalker, so I
What does that mean? What's a Chonda stalker?
I got like all her DVDs, all her books. I watched every single YouTube video I can find on her. I'm a true Chonda stalker.
Chonda, they drove 4 hours to come see you.
These people did? Oh my stars! Are y'all driving back tonight? Oh, good. We can't. No. You walked?
Not in the shape to walk.
Because the car broke down. Now how are you getting back to where you?
Walking. Well, it's just over there. So.
Over where?
Wait on there.
No, you don't ride with us. We'll give you a ride on the bus.
You should.
Absolutely, you're not walking back.
It's only a mile.
No, I don't care. You're not walking back.
Hey, I'm not gonna say no.
You just sit right there with me.
Oh yeah.
I was born in Covington, Kentucky. I don't remember it, but they say it was a lovely birth. I just remember remnants. I just have such gaps, such empty spaces and empty gaps. I grew up a preacher's daughter and a middle child, so I pretty much reeked with dysfunction. Almost every other Sunday, you know, we were singing, we were doing something. We were always involved, always in front of people, always. I don't remember if there was a time I had to perform and I didn't want to. You know, I was always a light switch. Just send Chonda in there to do it, you know, and boom, you know, Mama used to say, we just set her on a platform and just let her go. It was just fun. You know, it's just me getting attention. So if you could out-talk or out-yell or sing or whatever, or juggle, then your folks would notice you. My mom played the piano at our church. That was spiritual.
We always had to sit on the second row because that was in the Bible somewhere, I'm sure. Preachers' kids have to sit up front, you know, and so we did. And Mama could get a hold of us if we were near the front. That was one fast woman, I'm tell you. I've never known anyone that can beat their kids between the second and third verse of Victory in Jesus. Pew, pew. Choir never stopped. They just go right on beat. Pop! Get right back in there. Then when Dad was preaching, she would sit with us so she could really, you know, help us to pay attention. Yeah, she had that righteous pincher thing going on. You could spell out just as I am and bruise marks on the side of everybody used to think we were getting blessed. We were like, oh. It weren't the Holy Ghost, it was my mother.
Got acquainted with Chonda in 1975. What I remember about Chonda so much was she was just a little old thin girl. I mean, she looked like a teeny bopper back in those days. But she was so feisty, full of energy. She always had something to say that was funny or something that would make you feel good. That was Chonda.
My brother used to have this saying that Chonda was to be the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. Sometimes it used to hurt my feelings, but I own it. You know, it is what it is. I'm a middle child. I love goofing off. I've always loved theater since I was a little kid. I used to say, who wouldn't want to be in the limelight? But there are a lot of people who don't care for that, but I don't mind it.
I'll never forget that small, skinny little girl with all the energy she had. She was like a puppy. I don't believe she ever run out of energy.
It's hard for you to believe, but I was a little skinny thing. That's what.
Exactly.
So you're going to ride the bus, huh?
It's so exciting. I'm shaking. Can you see that?
Now, are you her mother?
Yes.
Are you a Chonda Pierce fan as well?
Because of her.
Because since I'm a Chonda stalker, I have to tell my mom. If I tell my mom, I got to tell my friends because she's amazing and I love her story, so it's kind of contagious.
Well, I loved it as well, but my daughters. I'm here for my daughter.
And this is the last church my family ever pastored. My dad was the pastor of this little building right here. I came from this picket fence family where everybody thinks it's the pastor's family and everything should be perfect, and yet on the inside, everything was falling apart. The man everybody knew on Sunday was not the man we knew on Monday. And that inconsistency tore us apart. Our home was excruciatingly painful. It was abusive. It was dysfunctional as could possibly be. And yet, somehow, in that, healthy or unhealthy, my mom was able to find good days for her kids. My father would literally be in the closet floor, curled up in a fetal position with a handgun, gonna kill himself, weeping and wailing. And we would be in the other room playing Monopoly. I have to say all this to let you know this is how I see it, this is how I feel about it, this is what I noticed, this is what I learned. And I can remember him having a Bible on one knee and a gun on the other, gonna end it all, you know, and you just sit there wondering, you know, which is gonna work, the gun or the word of God, you know. But yeah, I just, remember that first time I got baptized and the gurgling of the water and hearing him quote scripture passionately. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. All right, you guys, I'm gonna give you a ride.
All right.
Thank you. They walked from a hotel way up there. Well,
I'd probably rather ride on your bus, but
Oh, yeah.
have a seat. Oh, sorry we didn't tidy up for you.
Thank you so much.
This is where we live. This is where we eat. This is where we have chocolates. How was your show?
It was fabulous.
Don't just say that.
No, I'm serious. I'm a stalker.
She loves it. She's had a rough background too. She's been with our family about 7 years. She has a rough background and her pain comes through the funnies.
That's exactly right. And that's the story.
She keeps our family happy.
So I've heard. What's your background?
Can I ask?
Oh, sure. I have alcoholic dad, a drug addict mother. We got taken out of the home. Like, there's a family of 8. we got taken out of the home because of the sexual abuse and physical, like all the stuff, all that rot. So I was with 2 people. We went through like several, like each year I was in a different home or something like that. Like I was only like 3 or 4 different people. Yeah. So it was like that kind of thing, and then I got adopted at 10.
At 10?
I was 10. Yep.
I got saved 342 times. If it stormed or lightning outside, I'd get saved. You know, it'd scare me to death, so. Of course, if there was a good-looking boy at the altar, I'd get saved. My big sister was 20 when she was killed in a car accident. My little sister was 15 when she got sick at high school, and suddenly we found out she had leukemia, and she died in 21 days. Charlotta, I remember to be elegant, just always very ladylike, and a beautiful big sister to look up to. First house I ever lived in when I moved to Tennessee from South Carolina was that little red brick house. I'll never forget when Charlotta was killed. My mother was crying. My mother said, "Honey, I need to tell you something." And I just said, "You don't have to tell me, but you might want to tell Sherilyn." And she just said, "No," and she ran out the door to the mailbox. And about that time, the mailman was delivering mail. And she just fell in the mailman's arms and said, "My sissy died." And they announced on the radio the first fatality of the 4th of July bicentennial weekend was Charlotta K. Courtney. And she was killed, hit on the side of her car, kind of T-boned. She didn't have on a seatbelt. Had she worn a seatbelt, she might still be here. Sherilyn was just as sweet and tender, but she was a baby. And I used to always say she was the whiner of the baby, you know. Sherilyn was a very tender, beautiful girl. After a whole battery of tests, they discovered she had leukemia, and 21 days later, she died. And between their deaths, my parents divorced. I was a senior in high school when he left. We saw each other very little. He would visit the college from time to time, and I was always a little frightened.
It was so in a time frame where it was so close together. I thought of many a time how one family could suffer so much in such a short time, you know.
I married a beautiful man, a wonderful man, my high school sweetheart. He sat right behind me in speech and drama class. He was the stud of my high school. Mr. Civitan, Mr. Cheatham County High School, he is still a stud. He's a stud muffin, but he's a little more muffin than stud. That's the way she raised me. You want Jesus to come back and catch you in that movie house. You want Jesus to come back and catch you in the back seat of that car with that boy. You want Jesus to come back and catch you kissing that boy. You know how hard that was on my honeymoon? I had to put a do not disturb sign and a note to Jesus on the door. Dear Lord, if you come back tonight, would you circle the block? I've waited a long time. I could sit up here and tell you how the Lord saved me from prostitution and crack cocaine, and everybody wave their hanky and be so blessed. Talk about sleeping with your husband, everybody's. I'm like, yes, I'm a Christian woman. I ain't dead. I sleep with my husband. Sometimes I like it. And you guys are so funny. You come waltzing in the bedroom with your black socks and your tighty-whities, scratching your beer gut. Hey, honey, got on my lucky pair. Let me tell the 6 boys in here, if your waistband is right here and the rest of your drawers is drooped down there, that is not lucky. That's a piece of trash. I did go to a Christian college for the first 2 years, and I ran out of money. I tried to get an acting scholarship, and I got $300 scholarship, just consumed by the theater. You know, I just wanted to be an actress so bad. And one of my directors or teachers was also a man who had written a few shows for Opryland USA, which was a theme park in Nashville at the time. And he suggested that I go and audition at Opryland. And lo and behold, I got hired. Since I was a terrible dancer, my director suggested that I take a couple of pages home and memorize them, and they were jokes from Grinder Switch, Tennessee, and it was the material of Cousin Minnie Pearl, whom I had never even heard of, because I wasn't allowed to watch Hee Haw. 6 years I impersonated Minnie Pearl at a theme park. I'm very, very proud of that part of my life, of that heritage. It was a pure, organic introduction for comedy for me.
My doctor said, "Are you still taking birth control pills?" We're Christians, we ain't dead. And so, and I said, yeah, I'm still taking those pills. Is that what's making me sick? He said, no, it's the baby that's making you sick. I said, whose baby? He said, your baby. I go, I don't have no baby. Well, you're going to have a baby. I looked at my husband and said, he said, your baby is making me sick. We gave birth to a beautiful little girl, and I found out she had an IQ of 157. Brilliant little girl, because if you add my IQ and her daddy's IQ together, you get 157. We decided we should populate the earth with brilliant children. Let's get busy. 6 years later, we finally had a baby boy. Graduated valedictorian from his university. He's very smart. He's making video games for a living, so that's every mother's dream. Everything he got grounded for, he now gets paid for. Which is a little bit like his mother.
Look, David, how precious he is. He's so tiny. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so precious.
I remember her being a stay-at-home mom till, I guess, those early elementary years. Then she started picking up with the touring and flying a lot. I remember it being hard as a little kid, you know, I'd be like, oh no, don't go, don't go. Wasn't anything to complain about at all. Obviously, I'm not psychotic or anything like that, so I think she did all right raising me, at least. So yeah, it was good.
Does your husband do this every night? It's like... You just lay there without moving, wondering where the wheel is. You start counting the seconds. Should I call 911 or my lawyer?
Life being married to Chonda is, I always tell people she breaks up the day, you know. It has been incredibly fun, pleasing, satisfying, watching things unfold.
You notice we like to put the medicine on the gauze, not on the baby itself.
Since he's such an expert, Chonda, why don't you turn the job over to him from now on, okay?
We made a decision early on that I was going to quit my job.
My biggest fear is I could kill my husband with a hot flash. It'll be an accident, but it could happen. He always said that, you know, the hot flashes he can stand. It's the mood swing that was killing him. I said, well, you married one woman, you got 4 more later. And 2 of them aren't even talking to you today. So I would shut it if I was you. And you find yourself with that pillow in your hand. It's just me, I guess, but... See, girls, this is why you need Jesus before you get to menopause. If you don't know Jesus before you get to menopause, somebody in your house will die.
Early on, I remember I would go to work every day, and sometime during the day, she would call and say, guess what happened? Guess who I talked to? And I look forward to that. It was just so exciting, and I was so happy for her to see dreams coming true.
At first, it was just a big surprise to us both that I was getting invited to go perform here or there. But then a couple of years goes by and you're on this fast pace where you're gone a few days, you come back. And I think I really did get physically tired. Welcome to the morning. Even though it's kind of noon, this is my morning. This is my life, and isn't it funny? 20 years. I know people would love to have this life. It's a big, long sacrifice from your family, and You just cling to the moments that it's worth it. I think what slowly began to set in for me was I missed my kids. And so I got to where every now and then I was quite jealous. I was very jealous of all the things he got to do that I missed.
From Carrie Sherman, Chairman and CEO of the RIAA. Dear Chonda, the RIAA's Gold and Platinum Program is honored to recognize you with a Career Achievement Plaque commemorating your status as the top certified female solo comedian in history.
Of all the people I could think of course, is my family, who has been such an equal sacrifice. And on the days you wonder if it's worth it, and some days you still wonder.
Bye, nice meeting you guys. You too. Well, that was fun. So long, camera.
So I have a chance of doing David Letterman if I can do 6 minutes, and they have to film the exact 6 minutes so that I won't say Jesus too much. So I told them I'm going to wear a big Jesus t-shirt that has Christmas lights on it that twinkles Jesus, 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 Jesus. You morons. I sound like my grandmother, but it's just a little bit of a sad world we live in, isn't it? When we have to be so careful and, not to hurt anybody's feelings, but yet they'll say anything they want to about our Lord out there and break our Jesus through the mud, and it just gets on my nerves. And now I need someone to be the announcer, like the Paul Schaefer or the, now here's Chonda Pierce. Anybody, will you do it? Okay. Yeah. Now, it's true, all these boys that got dressed up to come waltzing in here, none of you had to squeeze into a pair of Spanx. I want to see you wear Spanx all day and a pair of high heels. We'll see how tough you are. What we do to try to make ourselves feel skinny. Good Lord, after you put your Spanx on, you got to carry an oxygen tank with you. You might as well quit with the Spanx. Did you hear that woman has become a billionaire selling Spanx? The woman that created Spanx is a billionaire. She's also a size 2. She's trying to torture us girls that like cheeseburgers. She became a billionaire trying to teach you how to suck it in. I said, I'll take half that to tell you to let it out. Breathe. My mama had that Tower of Babel stuck up on her head. She could touch heaven. Yes, she could. And if he comes at me with that camera one more time, have you got enough footage yet? Could you back that thing up so I'll look skinnier? Let's get her from the side so we can see her beer gut really well. I used to talk about Spanx so much, I tried to get an endorsement from that little rich girl. She wrote me back and said, please stop telling people you wear Spanx. How huge do my thighs look in this mirror? She says, I look so good, I've lost weight. This is what the valley of the shadow of death looks like. The tough part is, there's been a great price to pay to be away from home. It's taken a great toll. Will you indulge me just a little so I might introduce to you my daughter, Shara? Love you. I had a manager, when my schedule was so overwhelmingly booked up, and it was the height of my career and all this, and I remember him saying, your kids will bounce back. They're going to be more excited that they had a new car than that mom was there to watch soccer. And like an idiot, I believed him. And he was dead wrong. I need to go TP his yard. Yeah. They don't bounce back. They go away. I've paid a great price. But I got 2 kids. One's great and one don't talk to me, so 50-50.
I notice you're using humor.
To deflect my pain. That's what comedians do. And you buy a ticket to watch it. Is this a sick world or what?
For many of you know, a life of a comedian sometimes comes from great darkness. I wrote a book called Laughing in the Dark. It was about a true horrible bout with clinical depression, which I still have. I'm highly medicated now, but I still... I've been very vocal about my medicine and taking medicine. And some lady came up to me and said, I don't think you should talk about taking antidepressants. That makes your faith look weak. I said, well, then you need to take your glasses off and drive home.
I remember hearing stories of she'd just be bawling and crying. I can't do it, I can't do it. And then as soon as I say, oh, please make welcome, Chonda Pierce. And then, she just puts on the face, goes out, does her thing, makes them laugh, sings her songs, a smile on her face. And then as soon as she steps right off stage and puts that mic down, then she just starts right back at it, crying again.
About 5-6 years ago, I would lay in here in a dark corner and not get out of this room. And I would be sobbing right now. And the girls would have to come in and say, okay, you got 20 more minutes, you got 10 more minutes. Come on, let me help you put your lipstick on. Come on, you can do this. It was hard. And I would be tearing up and blowing my nose and snot and crying and can't even tell you what I was crying about. And they would hand me a microphone, I'd hear the starting music, and I would know the handful of material that always worked. And I would tell those things even though I wasn't feeling the laughter, and people were still laughing. And I would have this conversation with myself going, I cannot believe they're laughing. You know what I mean? I would hardly even hear it. And I would step off there and go, was that all right? And people are clapping and laughing and think that's the most wonderful thing. But I missed the whole show because I was in this dark, depressed place.
I mean, I can remember her first kind of spiral into depression when we were first kind of experiencing, the mood swings, and I was told, it's an illness, it's a sickness like, anything else, like the flu or like, diabetes or something, and with medication, it's treatable. So I was never worried that she would go off the deep end or never come back or never recover.
I'm just rattling off to a pitch dark room. I see nothing. I am talking to myself right now. I had a beautiful, brilliant man at Vanderbilt Psychiatric Hospital look at me and he said, your comedy and what you found to do for a living has probably masked the manic in such a way it gave you a good outlet. And now we got to figure out how to keep you out of the dark. I love that he's healed me, he is healing me, and he will continue to heal me. And this night is brought to you by the grace and mercy of Jesus and 150 milligrams of Effexor.
Probably right now, in my private life, it's the worst it's ever been. And I'm funnier than I've ever been. I think I've scripted out of my pain some purposeful things, and that is to tell people they're not alone. You go, wow, I'm not alone in how I feel. So if she made it through this, then I'll make it through that. If some purpose didn't come out of my pain, then it would be a really cruel joke.
You can tell those families whose wives are not in menopause, they cozy up like those two right there. Look at them. She ain't never had a hot flash yet, has she? Yeah, she wouldn't be wearing a turtleneck curled up to you.
Let me tell you men sitting in here, these night sweats mean nothing to you. It's not about you, it's not for you, it's nothing. You'd be glad we didn't slap you while we were sweating.
It's called menopause. Men-o-pause. That's why they call it that. It means back up, Jack. Someone's going down today. I mean, you men, you go through a time you want to feel good about yourselves. Women, we forget that men go through the same self-evaluation that we do. Women go through menopause. I know that men just pause. You just kind of glass over and set. I have a beautiful, wonderful husband. He was sober 28 years of our 31 years. It's just been the last 2 that he's not been so sober.
We're toasting. Thank you for being here. Sorry about that thing about, you don't know him 30 years, you don't know him. Okay, cheers to a great.
Great job. Congratulations.
Cheers. Cheers.
Next on Life Today, a man that suffered as a child with an alcoholic father now takes on the challenge of being a father.
From the time she was 15 to 18, I get to figure out how to be a father. And I prayed to God. I said, God, either let me make it to the top of this mountain or teach me something.
Stay with us as Christian comedian Chonda Pierce and her husband David share his journey to the summit. Next on Life Today.
Shara and I, we have an incredibly close relationship. This started when she was 15. She just read this book about a climbing expedition on Mount Everest.
Where people died.
Where people died. And she came to me and said, Dad, I want to climb a mountain. So for the next 3 years, we climbed 4 more mountains and ran 2 marathons.
I see all of his good qualities in all those climbs. When they would get home alive, then I would rejoice. But if he brought them home, if he came home dead, I told him I was going to kill him.
You get the comments. Wow, I wish I had a wife that could take care of me. Wish I could stay home all day, and things like that. And you laugh it off, shake it off. But then it would hurt somehow. And I think I was taking Zach to a soccer match or something like that. And I made the comment, oh, you should have seen him when he did this. And she got sad. And I immediately knew I shouldn't have said that. And so I began, I think, to share less and less of what was going on at home because my fear that she would be sad.
And I think I began to share less and less of what was going on at work because I didn't want him to feel that any of that was more important.
My husband did not have all that when I married him. Hair. It is now falls off his head, shows up in his ear. There it is. That's why you don't go parking after 40. It's like that. These young girls, y'all just poop in your mouth a little bit, didn't you? Where do you think you came from? My husband is just terrible. I roll over in the bed at night and there's Sasquatch laying in the bed with me. I try to be a good one. Here, dear, let me help you shave your back. We don't use a tattoo. I've carved my initials in his back. Chonda loves David.
Shara, my daughter, was my hiking outdoor buddy. We did everything like that. Zach was my indoor buddy. When Shara got married and moved off, Zach and I, every Friday or Saturday, we'd go see the latest movie. Then Zach moved off. And I remember home alone that first Friday night thinking, I'm all alone, man. And then that second Friday night, it was, gosh, I am real lonely. And sitting in that big house, it was a lonely feeling. And You know, what do you do? How do you fill your time? For me, I began to drink. I didn't drink in high school. I didn't drink in college. I didn't drink for the first 20 years of our marriage. And it was a vicious, vicious cycle that I could not stop. And it got worse and worse. And red flags were going off in my head. I would hide stuff so Chonda couldn't find it.
I called an ambulance one night. I thought he was having a seizure. I felt like an absolute idiot and a horrible failure as a wife that I didn't see that.
I'm not used to that dysfunctionality that we have right now. My dad is working on his alcohol addiction. My mom's always got her depression, that'll always be there. And my sister doesn't talk to us anymore. Just the way that she's kind of blackballed my parents, I can't help but feel, I guess, a sense of obligation or to them. I don't feel that she's right in doing that. Me and my sister, you know, we're always kind of close growing up. I felt always had a good relationship. I don't know what else to compare it to, but I remember the phone conversation with my sister. Kind of calling her and just being like, what is going on? Like, what is the deal? What is it that's so bad you just can't have any sort of relationship with them anymore? Because it was after a recent visit with my dad and he was looking rough. I've never seen him that disheveled. And I don't know, he just wasn't the same dad that I'm used to.
My daughter calls me and announces to me, did you know they have a contraption that heats the baby wipes? I guess that's what's wrong with my kids. I froze their fannies off, I reckon. That little wash rag in a Ziploc bag ain't good enough for her kid. She wanted to heat the baby wipes. Isn't that hilarious? Just the things you think you need. Then she announced to me, you know, I've decided I will be making all my baby food. It's much more organic. It's much more healthy. I know you didn't do it for me, but I'm going to do it for my kids. So, well, that's good, because I used to have to chew your food up and spit it in your mouth. Which could explain our difficult relationship.
And our daughter didn't just grow up and move away. She walked out and chose not to have us active in her life.
If we were doing this in that first year, I wouldn't make it through it. I could not talk about the situation without just losing it. Yeah, my heart was broken, and still is.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? There's only 7 men in this building. Can't one of you get this thing working? That is hysterical. I never invite men to my shows. I don't know why you're here.
Don't be yawning, the thing just started. Thank you for making me look really good on the camera. I hope that's sleep apnea over there. He's on his 3rd snore right there. The funniest thing, there's about 4 men in here that don't have a crack on their face. Truth hurts, doesn't it? Just hurts.
I didn't want to feel, because everything I was feeling was bad. It was awful. It hurt. And so when I drank, it would numb it, and it would go away. And intellectually, I knew I was in trouble.
And then my mother is dying. I cannot deal with the drinking anymore. And not right now. I'm going to spend as much time with Mom as I can before she died.
And it got to a point to where she was tired of it. and suggested that we separate. I thought, I am probably killing myself, is what I thought. And I thought, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm probably going to die from this.
My husband, I think he's having a little fling with his little Jezebel 1500 GPS girl. He says he likes her accent, turn right and then turn right. I said she has to repeat herself because she's talking to a man. And he listens to every word. And if I speak up, hush, she's trying to say something. Well, Jezebel, the other day he come kissing on my neck. I said, recalculate.
What I see in the mirror is a lot of my mother.
Today, David Zachary Pierce comes home from the hospital. This is your dog, Sandy, and there's your cat, Heather. Zachary, this is inside your new house. Your mama painted this just a few days before you were born and fixed it all up. This will be the little bed right beside her, and I hope you don't do a lot of crying in the night so she can get some rest.
My mother would call me every day, sometimes, and I am not exaggerating, 10, 12 times a day. Sometimes she would call me to ask me what it was she was going to call me and ask me. I have so many voicemail messages that I just love listening to them still. I'm at that place, and of course I know my shrink's going to go, maybe we should put those down for a while.
Hello, this is Shonda's mama.
This is Shonda's mama, like I'm not going to know.
Oh, honey, I didn't want anything important at all. I just wanted to tell you that I love you today, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. And that I want you to know your mama loves you all day and praying for you all day, and this is your good day. I'll talk to you later. I sure do love you. Bye, honey.
Five minutes later, she'll call. Did I tell you I loved you today? This year I lost my mother. We had 7 weeks it took for her to pass on, and it was hard.
Man, the grass is all grown and up. Seemed like the grass has grown faster on Mom's. I used to sit right here and have lunch all the time when I was younger. It's been harder to come with Mama gone. It's just harder. You know, I don't want people to think I'm some sad victim. And at the same time, I certainly don't want to exploit, you know, tragedy. I rarely bring anyone here. This is a very, very private place. And I think that's why I worry that this is exploitive, because I never bring anybody here. This is as private of me as it gets, and it feels a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think when you hunker over like that, it really makes nobody notice. That is so stinking funny. It's like, maybe if we walk like this, people won't see. Look at the little women's ministry leader. Now get in the row. Here's your ticket. No, you sit by her, and I want you to sit by her. Wrangle them in there, Toots. Wrangle them in there. That's all right. I'm just trying to pour my heart out up here. Look, and now they don't even have a seat for you, do they? You shouldn't have been so stingy with the tickets, I reckon.
I don't come up here as much since Mom's been gone. It's just too hard. Because it really does accentuate that I am alone. I don't want to die alone, you know, and there's the spiritual answer, well, we're not really alone. God is always with us. But sometimes you need God with flesh on. This season's crappy. I don't like it, you know, and I don't have to like it. I have to survive it.
I mean, it's torture. I sweat. I'm sweating right now. I'm not even thinking about exercise. I'm not even exercising. I'm standing up. I'm sweating. That's what menopause does. You don't dream about exercise, you just wake up in a puddle. And at this age, you kind of sniff around the water to see which end it came from. I wake up in a puddle, just drenched. And what does a man? He looks over and sees a glistening woman, thinks he's still got it. Let me tell you boys something. Those night sweats have nothing to do with you. You little egomaniacs.
I got an award for being the top-selling female comic in history. At the time I accepted it, I said, this came at a great price. And at that particular time, I meant it. It did. My husband was there. We were not communicating well. His face looked gaunt, and I know he had been drinking, using his drug. And when I got that award, I could think of a dozen things I would trade it for. I would trade it for 2 sisters. I would have given that award away for a day with my grandson in the park somewhere. And for me, parking that bus for a good long while and playing in a park with a little boy and cooking a big meal for a big family, that sounds wonderful.
Moved out of 4,000 square feet into 720 square feet. I can sit on the couch and see all my stuff. I sat on the toilet the other day, made myself a grilled cheese sandwich all at the same time.
We were separated almost 18 months, really. He went to a cabin out in the woods that we have, and he's been living out there for a little over a year. And it's been hard. And I don't know what the answer is, other than I just know that when you are in a place where you are that dark and that deep and that sad, you gotta cry out for help. And if you don't, you'll pay a great price.
Where I am now is it's a much better place. It's on the upswing. And I attribute a lot of that to the rehab treatment that I went through. That's why I can come out here to the cabin now, be alone and not feel lonely. Yeah, and there's a big difference in being alone and being lonely. My hope is that we can reconcile, that we can have that happiness that we know is there. I mean, we have been really, really happy at times. So, I have a question for you. Would you go steady with me?
Well, was it 30 years ago? I said, what?
Yeah.
This time I go, yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know where I stood.
You still love your wife?
I do. I love her very much. I told a counselor one time, I said, I drank because I just didn't care anymore. And she said, no, you drank because you did care. And I realized I did. If I didn't care, it wouldn't have hurt. I wouldn't have been worried that I was going to lose her.
Yeah.
It'd been easy. So I realized, yeah, I did care all along. I still care.
My husband asked me to go steady a couple of weeks ago. We're going steady now. He lives out at the cabin. I live in my little tiny apartment, and we have visits and dates.
So we made a pact that if he would stay sober for 30 days, he would move back in, and he did. And so we are together. We've been in the same house now for a couple of months. I still am tiptoeing across ice, hoping that it doesn't break. For the last couple of years, we're in a battle for our lives. He's going to die if he doesn't stop drinking.
If I talk, I have to tell the truth. And when I tell the truth, not everybody likes it. See, I grew up in the church world when you came out here and talked about Jesus and laughed and hooped and hollered and sang one of her songs and waved your hanky. Most of the time, you were selling a lie. Because you would always say, come to know Jesus and everything's going to be great. You come give your life to Jesus and the world's going to be beautiful. Every day's going to be sunny. You're going to be praising him till the Lord comes back. It's just the most exciting life in the universe. Young people, I wish I could tell you that's the truth. But it's not. And serving Jesus is the greatest, sweetest, and only way you're going to survive this troubled world. But it will not be easy. This is so great because you're not going to believe it tonight. You may find this hard to believe looking at me, but I am spankless. I've decided to give it up. I'm going just like I am, so don't let my cellulite hit you on the way out. No, this is the truth. I gave up Spanx in Afghanistan, which is an odd place to give up Spanx. I went over there to entertain the troops, which was the greatest trip of my life. We have the greatest military known to man, and I'm just so tickled to get to do it. Went with a couple of country music superstars and the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, so we had a lot in common. I don't know how the Cowboys are getting along this year, but the cheerleaders are starving to death. I am very concerned about them. I even got a T-shirt out halfway through the trip that said, "Save a cheerleader, eat a donut." And one of those generals finally announced, look, we're going to have a little photo shoot when we land in Kuwait City, so you guys might want to get all spruced up and get some makeup on and and get your mascara out and because we're going to, have a photo shoot with the Kuwaiti ambassador, blah, blah, blah. And he's looking straight at me when he said it. I'm 50. This is as spruced as it gets. And there I was with the little perky, rah-rah cheerleaders. I told them I usually wear my spandex under my clothes. They wear theirs right out where everybody can see it. They have strategically placed stars on their spandex. I don't have any stars on my spandex. I thought it was a fancy nursing pad there for a minute. They're not eating enough to have any milk, I can tell you that right now. So that little Playboy bunny girl, she come over to my side of the barracks and said, "Honey, I have an entire bodysuit Spanx if you'd like to try it. It hooks around your heel and pushes everything up real smoothly and over, if you know what I mean." And I couldn't slap her. I already told her I was a Christian. And it does. It makes everything nice and smooth. And, I had a figure on it and hadn't had for a long time. I was very self-conscious. I did tell that General Webster, "This is not normally how I dress. This is not my cleavage. These are my ankles." I'm Chonda Pierce. That's my time.
He had just told me he decided he can't stop drinking. He said, I have to do this my way. I have to do it at my own pace. And I don't know that I was forcing him to be sober, but I was doing what I had heard was the smart thing to do, and that was tough love and to not enable him. He struggled. He was so sad. He was just so sad. I caused some of that sadness. I think traveling too much. I think not being the wife I needed to be caused some of it. But we loved on each other. He gave me a big hug. He said, I've been a bad husband for a really long time. And I said, no. You know, at that time, you're like, no, you know, just want him to get well.
We went to AA and Al-Anon and counseling and 4 or 5 different rehabs experiences. And just as it seemed he was going to lick this thing, he was going to be better, he collapsed in the woods and had a massive stroke. Got him to the hospital, and we discovered he had blood clots in both legs and both lungs and in his brain. 31 years of marriage, he was still my best friend. And we held each other close. And he closed his eyes and went to sleep one night and had another horrible hemorrhage. They rushed him to the emergency room for brain surgery and just couldn't save him.
I've done this for, I'll be okay. I've done this for almost 40 years, and this may be the hardest, but it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
Didn't we think we were going to have a happy ending? We really thought we had the happy ending. David and I had gotten back together, and he asked me to go steady. That's what was so funny. We'd been separated for a little while, and he had been in and out of rehab, and so we had decided we were gonna, you know, he's gonna get it together. We're gonna do good. And lo and behold, if he didn't get it together, he had been drinking again pretty heavy, and just terrible. Didn't make it.
I watched a man change and melt away before my very eyes. That was harder than saying goodbye to him at a funeral. He slowly began to die a long time ago. I didn't know it. I held out hope that he would get better.
It's a shock. I think after a month, I'm still in shock, I think. When it came time to decide where to bury him, and man, it just was immediately of going, I know exactly where. It's a perfect place. It's just a perfect place. It's a beautiful tribute to a man who lived his life well. And for almost 40 years, he's my first thought of the day and the last thought of the day.
I just decided these dates were already on the books, and I thought, you know, if all things that I need right now is you. And so as a few months went by and I rested up, I just made the decision to come on back to work. And I'm so glad I did, because your laughter has been just as much medicine for me as it's been for anybody else. Thank you very much. It's amazing when you are honest enough to tell a crowd, you know, I lost my husband this past summer, I'm dreading the holidays, to look in a sea of faces that feel and are going through the exact same thing. That in itself teaches you that you're not alone, and that is the sweetest gift in all of this. I feel less alone here than I do lately, where I'm completely alone at home. I don't want to hide away on tour, so I need to strike a good balance. I miss my family. With every great accolade and the 20 years of working hard, it's been a great sacrifice. And ask me today if it was worth it, I'd say no. Not a bit was it worth it. Now ask the person who writes me and says,
I was going to kill myself, and because of something you said on a video or something I didn't, to that family, they would say, yes, it was worth it, because they have a loved one that's still here. I have too many that are gone.
We went to Italy on this cruise, and I wanted to do something to surprise him, so I got a tattoo. I just got these little flowers and a heart with my husband's initials in a very, private area that only he would see, because, that's what we girls do. It's not a tramp stamp. I married him, but it's not romantic anymore, because somewhere in my butt crack is my husband's initials right now. I figure by our 70th anniversary, it'll be out behind my knees somewhere.
Relationship with Chonda. Like I said, she's kind of adopted us, both me and this little fussy girl at the moment, Vanessa. She's just kind of, it's okay.
How are you, gentlemen? Good night. Good night. Nana was so funny.
We kept running into each other downtown a few times, and our friendship just blossomed from there. It really grew when she found out I was pregnant with her. I feel like I practically live there sometimes at her house. But yeah, Chonda has adopted us and been a great help. Caregiver to her, sort of like a mom to me, a friend, mentor.
I'm very blessed to get to see her as much as I beg. I get to babysit a lot. I teach at school, and so I'm the fill-in grandma.
Is that Nana's girl?
I get to keep her as much as I can, as much as I'm home.
I am loving it, just loving it. She allowed me to be there when the baby was born, and now she gets in a pickle for a babysitter. And guess who's the #1 babysitter? Of a teeny tiny infant I have almost every day. God gives you the desires of your heart.
I think Vanessa has brought a second chance to Chonda. She doesn't get to see her own grandchildren, and I think that breaks her heart.
So I brought the little yellow dress for her to wear tonight, but I know it's too big. Part of it, I needed to prove to myself that I could be a grandma. I had about 2 or 3 years solid to be reminded every day of death or pain or abandonment or rejection. All of those grieving emotions. And now for the last 3 or 4 months, it's been about someone that just accepts you, needs you, loves on you, and learning from my pain. Sometimes the hard part about not wanting to get off the bus now is I just want to stay there and play with the baby. Without the pain, for me, there was no reason to stay in comedy, But with the comedy, it made the pain bearable. And so they both go hand in hand, for me.
Do you feel pain is necessary for you to continue being a comedian?
Oh, Lord, I hope not. No, a good writer would help be a good comedian.
And that's the hardest part. I can't sleep. I bought 3 sound machines. None of them have rootin' pig on any of them. I decided I'm going to rent me a hog and just let it live in the corner of my bedroom. I know I've put on weight because that's what you do when your husband dies, because everybody keeps bringing you food like you forgot how to cook or something. The dog's getting fat too, because One of my neighbors don't cook all that good. And please don't put that on Facebook. Every time she shows up the door, I cook this for you because I know it's hard to just cook for one now. I'm like, well, thank you for reminding me. Thank you very much. I shut the door and I gave it to the dog. Now the dog's turning it down. That's how bad it is.
There's no step that you can take that helps you go around it. You have to go through the process. I don't know how anybody gets through it without their faith, without God, without somebody bigger than us. Because I can't fix it, I can't control it, and I've tried all those things. Which is probably one of the reasons we're in this now. And the whole time you're praying that, please help me move forward, you want that for your kids. I don't want the death of their father to define where they are, or the disdain they have for their mom, or the chaos that they grew up in a public life. You want them to move forward too, and so you pray that they are praying that also. And then I had to realize I have a child who's praying that and probably living that, and you praise God for that. But that meant she moved forward and left me behind. And that's okay. And God will figure it all out, in His time, in His way. I'm at a place in my life where now I'm ready to address it in a way that says, she's okay, she's fine. This is what she has to do, and I'm okay with that. When someone dies, you fill your thoughts up with what I should have done. I wished I'd done this. I wish they could have done that. But right now, if we believe in the hope of heaven, He's holding babies and building tree houses, and He's being a grandfather to somebody. He's having the time of his life, and he deserves every minute of that. And the main thing that I'm learning is to put all my expectations on God. Now, all of a sudden, He is really giving me desires in my heart that only He knew about. I needed that. I needed Him to do that.
I got ideas, but I don't know what the future holds. And for the first time, I say that, and I'm fine with it. You see, the one thing I realized about myself, when I break it all down to figure out how in the world does an individual make it through stuff, because that's the number one question I get all the time. How do you make it through? You know what I finally figured out the answer is? Jesus. Now you could break that down in a million ways. Jesus is love. Joy of the Lord is my strength. Christ, the hope of glory. But to tear it down to the bare minimum, you know what it's got to come down to? You believe or you don't. I believe the Bible. I believe when it says we're more than conquerors, we are. I don't always feel it, but I believe it. When He says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, I believe that. I don't always feel it, and He certainly is a little slow on the draw, if you ask me. But I believe it.
I'm not the person I was when this documentary started. And I don't ever want to be that person again. And I don't want to be the person that just spoke those very words. I just want to keep moving forward, keep taking positive steps. Maybe that's why the Bible talks a lot about making all things new again.
I pray your relationships are current. If there's an I'm sorry that needs to happen in your life, let it happen before it's too late. If there's an I love you you're holding back because someone made you mad, get over it. Cherish one another. Love one another. He's watching, and He shows up in the most beautiful, unexpected ways. Let me pray with you real quick. It is because of you that we can stand through our tears. It is
It is because of your word that we have a foundation that gets us through the roughest days. Sometimes when I think you're not talking to me, I just go to the word and there you printed it out for me to see. Because your ways are not our ways. Sometimes they are not very comfortable. We love you, Jesus, and if we meet together again, that's great, but we will see each other again on the other side. And all your children said together, amen. Good night. Thank you for coming.
Put your hands together for Miss Chonda Pierce.